Hi, my name is Kelsey, and we're going to get started. I am the Brand Experience Manager here at CMA. So thank you all so much for registering and joining us and all the questions that you submitted. We're really excited, the team here, to chat about how to market in the midst of this crisis, this new environment that we're dealing with. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it off to CMA's president, Christian Amato, and he's going to dive a little bit further for you all.
Good afternoon, everyone. Like Kelsey said, I want to thank everyone for attending today. It's really been a crazy environment. The world's starting to claw its way back out of this coronavirus epidemic or pandemic. And basically CMA looked at it and said, how can we help, and why are we putting on this webinar? And the idea is that it's all about you guys and understanding how do we as a whole, as a society, get out of this, and how do we be stronger? How do we understand our clients better? How do we understand our company better? How do we message things better? Now, CMA has been around for 30 years. We've been through many an economic downturn over that time period. And basically what we wanted to do today was open up our doors virtually, obviously, and let you guys ask us some questions and see how exactly our subject matter experts are handling this situation for our clients, for ourselves as a company as a whole. And hopefully, when all said and done, you have some questions, we're going to address them, we're going to cover some of your pain points and as we go forward. But realistically, this is about you guys and understanding how we can be better for our clients across the board. So without any further ado, I'm going to kick it back to Kelsey and let her take it over and hand you guys off to the team of our subject matter experts. So thank you all. Thanks to the team.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Christian. So I'm going to get into a little bit of how the next 45, 50 minutes are going to go. So first, I'm going to send it off to our team here of panelists that we have today. And each one is a part of a different department here at CMA. So they're going to share a little bit of what they're going to be experiencing or what they have been experiencing from, this new environment that we've been in. From there, we did have a lot of awesome questions submitted. So what we're going to do is take the ones that have been submitted first by all of you who are attending today and kind of run through what we're seeing and some of our thoughts and ways that we can help you market. And then feel free after that to put in a question in the chat box. And if there's time, we're really looking forward to being able to dive in that with you as well. Unfortunately, this is only an hour, so if we don't get to all of your questions, we're here to always talk to you. So we'll be sure to give you the information to reach out to us directly afterwards, or we'll be following up with you so we can continue the conversation. So Dan, you want to give us a little insight into your world?
Sure. So my name is Dan Beldowitz. I'm the Director of Business Development here at CMA. And obviously that's one of the things that kind of takes the biggest hit. So selling marketing services, marketing is really usually the first thing to go in any kind of economic downturn. People start cutting their marketing budgets and they stop marketing. They stop going out. They stop generating more leads and things like that. So sales for us becomes that much more difficult. And it's been interesting because we've all been forced to go home, and now everything is virtual. So every meeting that we have, every conversation that we have is through Hangouts, through Zoom, through Teams, and all these different things. But it doesn't change the fact that everything is based on a relationship. If you can build a relationship, you can build a customer. It may take longer. It may take more virtual meetings like this. It might take a bit more prodding to understand what are they doing with their cash? Why are they storing it? You might have to provide more information on really how is what you're selling your prospect or your buyer, how is it going to impact them? What's the ROI like? How far out is that going to go? So it's really about educating further and continuing to build that relationship. And that's been the biggest challenge, is really continuing to grow and foster relationships while we're all social distancing. And it has to happen instead of belly to belly. Well, now it's all happening online, on phones. And that's been the biggest change so far, is really, kind of the phones go quiet, people aren't searching up for it as much. And you know, it's now just kind of a new norm of saying, well, how do we then get back in there? You know, when does things calm down, and how do people play with their money smartly and invest wisely so that they see a return? But ultimately, marketing can't be an expense. You can't stop now. It's a matter of continuing to do it, keep your brand out there, and not sticking your head in the sand, so that when we do come through this, and we will get through this, it's you're there and you're ready and you're primed to go.
Awesome. Yeah, I know from a new business perspective, you're probably seeing the most difference in terms of conversations you're having.
Yeah, it's been interesting.
Ken. So Ken is our director of content strategy. So I think he's going to share a little bit of what he's seeing.
Yeah, so I mean, content, whether it's content or PR, they're both great ways to build reputation and relationships. There are two very important assets you need to have to build your brand. And let's face it, business is just another word for relationships, and you can't have one without communication. So whether you're talking about owned media or earned media from PR, content and PR, they check both boxes. So what I tell people all the time now, especially during crisis, is you need to talk more now, not less. And this is kind of an odd shift, because when a crisis happens, people get defensive and they withdraw. But I tell people all the time, up until this point, we've spent a lot of time and energy, and you spent some money, building yourself as a leader so you can stay ahead from your competition, right? But here's the catch. You can't be a leader without followers, and you can't have followers without communications. So that's a key reason why I advise our clients all the time, this is the perfect time to market, not less.
That's great advice. Awesome. All right. Justin. Justin is our director of web and mobile app development. So I know he's been seeing a lot of client communication changes rapidly as well.
Sure. Our web team here in the building now at home, we've spent the last few weeks just kind of inundated with requests from clients who want to get their message out there digitally and are wondering what's the best way to do it. And we've found that for each in particular client has their own set of requirements, their own, you know, really unique situation, and kind of they require a unique solution. So, you know, our goal in getting their message out there has been trying to help them to find a way to get the information out in a way that's accessible, you know, easy to find without being a little too in your face, or, you know, because this information, we all know, we're all dealing with it, is everywhere. Everywhere you go on the web, you're getting hit with information about this. So we're trying to help each specific client find a way that, you know, fits their brand, fits their message, and accomplishes the goal that they're looking to accomplish.
Right. I know we're going to dive a little bit more into that later as we get into the questions about how exactly our clients and our audience are going about doing that. So next up, Omer, our digital strategy specialist. You want to kind of give a breakdown of what you're seeing?
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. I applaud you for being proactive in your business and looking to increase your knowledge further on what to do. So digital marketing is a fantastic way to reach your audience, whether you're looking to promote a product or service or even a promotion. Digital marketing solutions can be utilized in many different ways. Today, however, companies have taken to reaching out to their current and potential clients and to being updates for COVID-19, into showing what changes to expect in service and how they can keep their brand in front of their clients.
Yeah, very true. All right, and Lynn is our managing director of marketing and is the ` person to be conversating and dealing with our clients. So I know she has a lot to share from that standpoint.
Yeah, in talking to clients these past few weeks, it's been across the board. A number of them have adapted easily and just went with the flow, and we just switched work up and went online a bit more, or a lot more. And others have been slower to adapt. And I think what's really interesting is that some people have been pushed into realms that they were originally uncomfortable with. but they're finding success, and that's what makes it exciting for them. So people are moving even further into digital for companies that were kind of on the border or on the edge or not sure how that was going to work for their brand and for their work. So people are finding first internally that their teams are coming together in creative and imaginative ways that they'd never even thought of before. And I think that's showing the successes of the companies working together and integrated, and they're taking that and pushing that forward out into the go-to-market strategy. You know, just even how they're working internally is changing their outward plans. So yeah, it's been a lot of creativity. We're going to hopefully get into a lot of things that the clients are doing or that the clients can be doing. And really, we're just how they're doing business and going to market completely digital and really paving a way for these brands and companies in the future. So it's a difficult time, and it's never going to say anything's good, but it's also an exciting time for a lot of our clients as well.
Yeah, very true, very true. All right, well, that is the panel here. I am going to switch over to a little bit more of a gallery view. And now we're going to start breaking down some of the questions that we received from attendees. And again, we'll kind of run through a bit of that and all that have been submitted already. But please feel free to submit any questions you have in our chat. And if we have enough time, we're going to dive into that as well later on. So without further ado, we have our first question, and this one is a little bit more on the how we're dealing with this whole work from home environment and how everything is now in our homes. So the question is, how are we finding balance? What have we been doing? Have we been getting fresh air, doing virtual at-home workouts? I know where, you know, people have children in the house, how the whole work from home and homeschooling scenario is going. So Christian, I think you have some great structure and tips there that you've been going through, right?
Yes. Well, first, I guess it's what have we been doing and how are we keeping it moving, business and home life. It's a balance, and it kind of getting thrown into a reality so quickly. You know, most of us spend a lot of our time, you know, you wake up in the morning, you head out, you know, you go to work, you work all day, you come home, boom, your home life balance kicks in. When you're working from home and you're not used to it, there's a couple things. So honestly, for me, and for the company as a whole, it started off with the panelists that you see in front of you right now. And it was kind of pulling them all in an emergency, hair on fire type of environment and saying, look, we have a work from home policy, but that's intermittent. This is a work from home all the time. What are we going to do? How are we going to support our team? How are we going to make sure that people don't, you know, get the, that syndrome of being inside the house all day? And how are we going to continue that? So I really kicked it over to the team and asked them to come up with a solution, how we were going to mitigate through this, and how it would look in the long term. So the idea is, as a company, we wanted to come out with a more robust work from home solution. We're expecting to come out of this very soon. And I know it's going to be great for us if everybody can, you know, utilize the technology, communicate properly, and move forward, how we can implement this into a summer type, all year round type of environment to give our employees a little bit more flexibility so we don't lose that work from home, because there's a lot of benefits from it. That's how we handled it from a work perspective, kind of like seeing a little bit that brass ring. And from a personal perspective, well, I don't do any yoga or any of that type of exercising virtually. I haven't gotten that far yet, but I do have an 8-year-old. And one of the biggest things that I was dealing with on my side was, this is as disruptive to him in his world as it is to us in our world. He's used to waking up, going to school, being with his friends, going outside and playing and just running around. with school, and now he can't. Now he's home. There's a lot more distractions. There's Xboxes, there's TVs, there's everything that you don't have in the school environment is now in the house. So he wants to try and, how do we keep him from going the other direction? So one of the things that we did was give him a schedule. You know, he gets up a little bit later now. His breakfast is ready for him. We have a file for him that says, okay, here's what you need to accomplish from a school perspective. When you accomplish these things, you can go out and play for recess or gym or something like that. When it's his specials, gym, he's always great to go to school when his special is gym. When it's science, not so much. He's a little, he's a little bit off. But so we end up spending a lot of time kind of working with him a little bit here and there. We set up upstairs. He's my office mate now, so we share an office. So if you see his head pop in through the door here, you'll know why he's coming into his office to finish up his schoolwork. And but for us, you know, that's really kind of how we've been mitigating it and working together as a unit. He has a routine now, so he's very adept as to what's going on now. You know, it sounds ideal. He does have bad days. Some days are a little bit more difficult than others, and I find myself exercising, going up and down the steps a little bit more than normal. But for the most part, all in all, we're all adapting very well.
Yeah, very true. I know I'm not necessarily the big proponent of a work from home scenario, because I just love that office environment and the camaraderie we have talking face to face. But in this, you know, new kind of scenario, I think this is, we've all been doing a good job at keeping virtually up. Actually, before we move on, Christian, we had a little chat come in and said, mad props on the quarantine beard. So
Thank you. Yes, it's going. I'm looking forward to getting to the barber shop.
I'm sure there's many people that are. I know my hair appointment got canceled, so I was a little upset about that. All right, so next question we have: how can we get people's attention when they are inundated with information? Is it too much news? Ken, I think this is kind of your role with the PR.
Yeah, so I mean, now that we all live in the digital world, helping is the new selling. So one thing you need to really think about in terms of this discussion point is time. Time is a lot like money. I'll give you an example. We go make money so we can spend it on the things that we want to, right? Well, the same thing can be said for time, right? So are people just too busy to read my next blog post, my next news story, my next social post? Yeah, they are actually, unless you make it relevant to them. If you make the content meaningful to your target audiences, they will all of a sudden have time to read. I'll give you a real world example here. Last month, I was supposed to clean my basement, but I was too busy. But when a pair of tickets to a basketball game fell on my lap, I suddenly found time. It was miraculous, right? More time for the game, not for the basement. My basement still needs to be cleaned. But the point is, people make time for the things they want, and the way you can, you know, shape it to a way they want it, make it meaningful, make it helpful, so it relates to them. Two things before I end this point. Two universal truths that I want you to turn into action today. People like people who help them, and people do business with people they like. I'm going to flip it around for you so it all makes sense. People do business with people they like. This is why the button on Facebook says like, it doesn't say buy. So then who do people like? People like people who help them. If you do those things, this is actually how you can bring people closer to you while observing social distancing. It's very exciting.
All right. So next up, we have, how do you sell your services during this time? Dan, that sounds like it has you written all over it.
Well, yeah, just like Ken said, obviously we just need to help more people. And honestly, that's a lot of what it comes down to. I mean, I think this kind of format lends itself to helping, because everybody gets to promote it, everybody gets to push this stuff out. And a lot of selling is really about making that relationship happen. Yes, Ken was 100% spot on by the knowing, the liking, and the trusting. All of those factors need to be there. So in these times, it's more difficult. It's going to take more time. And the way that you start doing that is, one, by your existing customers. It's empathy and emotional intelligence, really understanding, hey, everybody's in a crunch, whether it's a cash crunch, time crunch, maybe everything completely stopped. But this is really where you have to kind of go at it from an understanding and not a pushy sales person kind of, where everybody thinks it's a sleazy edit, that word sales. This is really about developing relationships. It should have just been, not business development. It should have been relationship development. And that's what it always has been, right? Being able to help someone understand what the value of your services is over the value of the dollar that they hold in their hand. And being able to transfer the energy and the enthusiasm from you who are selling it to those that are purchasing it, in ensuring in removing as many objections as possible, so that you can get past that sale. And that's the most difficult part right now, is people want to hold on to everything, every last penny, just because they don't know, what's going to happen. Uncertainty breeds, indecision. In unmade up mind never buys. If somebody isn't sure when they're going to come out of this, how far it's going to last, if they're not confident in the solution that you're providing is going to provide an ROI for them in the short term, and be able to see what their break even is on it quickly, nobody's going to buy. And that's where really educating the prospects and getting them to understand what's happening, where things are going, in providing that confidence and optimism of things moving forward, and just sticking with it. Again, sales, it was about building that relationship. It's that stick-to-itiveness, and being able to follow up and not get frustrated, and understand that people are going to be slower to buy right now. Ultimately, we're going to come out of it, but now is a great time to start building that relationship through helping. In putting on virtual events like this are great, because you can help get them out, you can help educate them and inform, and that's really how you start building relationships. It's the seeing, the hearing, and experiencing somebody's energy, that's how a relationship is formed. It's like a local radio DJ that you listen to on the ride to work every morning. You build a relationship because you hear them, you hear about their day, you hear about what's going on in their life. And that's kind of what this type of broadcast does.
Oh, very true. I know maybe Omer, you have some thoughts from the digital standpoint.
Yeah, sure. In terms of search engine optimization, or SEO, we can look to adjust technical aspects of our website, such as internal and external backlinks, to highlight the solutions that we provide. Also with keyword research, local SEO, and on-page and off-page SEO, we can help to market the appropriate solutions to potential clients organically. Also, we can utilize our SERPs, or search engine pages, effectively, our search engine results pages effectively. In terms of pay-per-click, or PPC, we can look to strengthen our keyword research as to our goals during this crisis within a specified geography. We can focus on staying in front of potential clients and how our offering is compatible with their needs at this time.
So you're essentially saying kind of keep within the same digital strategy, just make those tiny tweaks on the back end to really still stay relevant and searchable?
Absolutely. We want to make sure that we clean up the technical aspects of our digital presence, both on the website and our entire digital presence. According to WordStream, there are 3 ways to adjust a pay-per-click campaign for new search terms and volume. Number 1 would be to review your search terms regularly. Number 2 is find negative keywords before they start trending. And number 3, follow trending COVID-19 searches. Right now, the healthcare industry, it makes sense to follow what people are searching now.
Well, that's very true. And Ken, I know there's probably a lot we could be doing on the social front from this aspect.
Yeah, so from a social perspective, first you go look at the behavior overall. There's 2 kinds of people that are on web and onto your social channels. 1, people who are working, and 2, people who are bored. So this kind of dictates how you shape your content when you actually come out with it, okay? Now, if you're to ask me, well, okay, in a crisis, what would change? So a couple of things that I like to see, this is always important, but by a multiple of 10 now that we're in a crisis. I want you to demonstrate to me on your social channels how you're more selfless than self-serving. I want to see a lot less sales, and I want to see a lot more, for lack of a better word, help, right? So, for example, I'll give you some examples here. If you're in an industry where continuing education credits are important, I'd like you to come out and soft sell, if you will, some educational content that will help your target audience gain knowledge that will help them pass the credit so they can maintain their licenses. That's a good example. Another example is if you say, look, Ken, I still need to sell something. One is I would look at short-term freemium packages. I think that's a really great way to go, and that would definitely help your audiences. And let's face it, even though it's short-term, you're not bringing in the revenue, once you get someone involved with you, they will become more committed to you. And when that period of time lapses and we go back to normal, they will probably start paying you and jack up your revenue from that point of view. If, however, you can't give me a freemium feature package, what I would then suggest is that you give me something greatly discounted. Both those scenarios would really help me. So that's something I'd like to see in terms of what content we should be promoting on social media. Those are two good examples.
Sure, and I mean, I think the whole quote unquote freemium scenario now, that's where the relationships come in, and that's where you can really build the trust and further down the road, create that long lasting business relationship when things are kind of back on track.
Yep, exactly.
All right, so our next question from what is a professional way, and this is actually geared towards the healthcare industry, which, you know, we're very gracious and we thank everybody who's been kind of dealing with that environment recently. But this question is, what is a professional way to reach out to patients who have canceled their surgery to let them know as soon as the crisis is over and the government lifts the ban on elective surgery that we can call them? Ken, again, I think from a messaging standpoint, this is something that you've been dealing with.
Yep. So, I mean, from a communications perspective, well, let me just say this first. I like to eat, okay? So when I attack this question, I'm going to say, well, give them a sandwich. And by a sandwich, I mean, when you give someone negative information, bad news, make sure it's in between two slices of good news, right? So you want to lead with the positive, give me the negative, and then take me back to a positive solution. So for example, this question is about if we're, you know, maybe we're sending an email to a patient, we already had canceled their elective procedure. So you may want to say something like, dear patient, I am writing to explain to you how we can fast track your elective procedure. I'm thinking, oh, that's good. That's positive, right? And then the second sentence could be, I realize your normal surgery date was postponed due to COVID-19. That's the negative, right? However, bring them back now to the positive for the close. To advance your procedure as soon as possible, however, I would like you to do these 3 steps. So again, one tip here is when you're talking about the negative, spend a little time on that, but put more time and energy on the positive solution. And that's how you can kind of bring the person back.
Very true. And I think from taking that positive messaging, Justin, I know you've kind of been dealing with some of our clients and what they've been doing from the web aspect. Do you have any thoughts or tips there?
Sure. Yeah. And this one's an interesting case. I mean, like I set up at the top, we've been, you know, it's kind of a unique case for every client that you deal with because, you know, they each have their own set of circumstances. As a whole, what we've been trying to do for clients is help them put the information out there, like I said, without making it, you know, too obnoxious or in your face, because, you know, everyone currently, you know, you open up your email inbox every day and, you know, every single company in the world is sending you their response or, you know, what they're doing for COVID-19. Everyone wants to get their message out, understandably, but it's such you know, information overload that how many of those emails have you actually opened, right? I mean, how many of them are just getting lost in the flood of 50 of these things a day? What we've recommended for a lot of our customers is putting that information on their website, placing it prominently on their homepage with a button, with a pop-up in a way that it's not intrusive, you don't force it on people, but you make it obvious, it's easy to access, it's in a, you know, permanent or semi-permanent location so they can share it on their social channels or, you know, reference it in an email newsletter, but it doesn't, you know, put it in everyone's face. If, you know, there's a lot of people who just don't, you know, are going online, like you said, to get away from this to a certain extent, right? I mean, there's it's all day, every day. All you hear now is, you know, COVID, 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 because obviously it's such a big deal and it's transformed our lives so tremendously in such a short amount of time. But we've tried to make the information accessible, but not, you know, not in your face, not mandatory. Just put it in a place where everyone can get it. You can link it, and, you know, it can help you in the way you need to. But now this case in particular is interesting to me because, with that being said, you know, that everyone's getting flooded with emails, you know, this is a type of case where an email probably makes a lot more sense, if only because you as the medical professional is obviously going to be keeping a much closer eye on when those sanctions or restrictions on those surgeries are lifted than the patient is. So they're going to be looking to you to reach out to them and let them know when that is, what the process is, like Ken said, what the process is, focus on what the process is moving forward, what steps do you need to take, what steps we're taking to make sure that once you can come in, we're doing this safely, we're doing it efficiently, and we're doing it the way that's supposed to be done.
True. I know this was kind of geared towards the healthcare industry, but we do have a question related to this exact question about how this can relate to a professional services firm. And I think a lot of what you both said can kind of carry over with just some minor tweaks. So did you have any additional thoughts from that perspective? Ken, what about you from a messaging perspective?
In terms of, I'm sorry, repeat that?
A professional services firm versus someone in the healthcare industry and how this can relate to them.
No, I mean, I think my main point stands. I mean, if you're talking about something negative, I mean, you need to wrap it in the positive. That said, you do need to say the negative because people want to be heard. And they, you know, once you kind of get it out there in the universe and repeat it to them, they now know you've acknowledged it and now they're ready to go on. So again, I think this stands whether it's professional services or even the healthcare industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I can agree. All right, so the next question we have, the money question. So how do you make money when your locations are physically forced to close and you don't have a physical product? Lynn, this might be something for more of a virtual strategy that you've kind of seen or have some tips on.
Yeah, yeah, that's an interesting and tough one because I think in some ways you can make some money, in other ways you're going to be building your brand so that you can be in a better place moving forward. So it's not always about making the pennies or the dollars right now, it's about building the brand equity for later. So I'm going to attack this from both ways. Yeah, so this, as I was saying earlier, like the big disruptor right now is that people have to think in a completely different realm, or some of them. And so creativity is really starting to come into play a lot more than you'd imagine. So in the past, you know, people stick to their methodologies. This works for me. I'm going to do these things because I know I can get X amount of revenue from doing these. So it's just business as usual. And a lot of times people aren't willing to take those kind of risks, but now people have to. So as we said before, everything's online, everything's digital, which as again, you know, that was always to varying degrees for different companies, but now it's becoming second nature to everyone. So I'm just going to start by talking about some of what our clients are doing right now, because I think it's really interesting. Well, we started diving deep into nurture campaigns, into lead gen, into planning for the future, and, you know, basically setting themselves up in a way to be ahead of the curve. This is after the initial responses of how the business are operating, as we were talking about with the websites and changes with email campaigns, things like that, where people were just sending out the status of the business. Here's how we're working. Here's the changes that you can expect. And so after that stage, and that stage happened very quick and furiously, and now people are thinking about their brand. They're thinking about how we're going to come out the other side. So we are talking about what Ken and Justin and everyone was saying, which is, you know, providing value, providing things that your customers need, because whatever you're doing now, people are going to remember later. So it's investing in the brand. It's in focusing on what your brand equity is. So let's just talk about some of the things we're doing. We're substituting a lot of in-person events for webinars such as this, virtual tours, videos, video calls. We're talking about setting up promotions for sales teams that have reasons, giving them a reason to go out and work with their clients and call their clients, not just to go, hey, checking in, but to really get some valuable information to bring the companies forward. They're kind of thinking, hey, what does our company look like in the future? How do I get the input from my clients, and what do they want? They're not just saying, hey, let's have this cool product and put it out. They're taking the time to really reach out to their clients and provide value to their clients and get their feedback and bring that back in. And I think that's huge too. Where there's one client that's been pretty fantastic. So I just said we're doing a lot of things online and webinars and information-based learning. We had a client that does webinars regularly for, it's for lead gen and it's for information building, and their customers can also get certified. So we ran this webinar last month, and for some reason it didn't record, and we said, well, we're just going to do another one and make it for all the people that signed up but couldn't make it, because with our lives so busy every day, things come in, meetings come in, and you can't always make the trainings and the webinars. So we re-marketed this. We went on social media. We did everything we normally do to market it. We had a great attendance the first webinar. There were 80-something people. The second webinar, there were over 140 signups. This is a month later. And so we're giving their customers, the point of this, people are online, people are signing up for things, people are listening, and it's a great way to reach your customers. And you're providing them value as well as acknowledgement to your brand. So you are building brand equity again. So what does that mean for your business? What is it that your customers need to be successful in their jobs or lives relevant to your brand? What's your brand promise? What is how you portray your brand beyond your products you give? What's your company's value proposition? This is the time to deliver on those things beyond a product. It's a great time to determine how you can make an offering for someone without a product in a virtual setting. So let's just take, for example, Vimeo, right? Their value prop is make life worth watching. So this is already set up digitally. But how would you extrapolate that out? If your brand prop was make life worth watching, how would you do that in physical, tangible ways? What would you offer your clients at this time if you didn't have this product to give them? So how would you make their lives better? And I think that's how you're making your brand more memorable and making their lives better. Just remember, whatever it is your company does now will remain in people's minds once they go back to work in the default world. So right now, I just saw a post from Apple that they're making 1 million or something large surgical masks for hospitals and doctors. Not every company can do that or going to do that, but I'm going to remember that. And a lot of people are going to remember that as you move forward. So I think it's really important at these times to put that brand promise forward. Okay, so now we're just going to go into something a little more tactical about the money. You can charge for online events. You can have virtual seminars with speakers. The more people are comfortable online and in these kind of Zoom and other other video settings, the smoother it's going to go. We're actually have a package coming together for that with CMA. So yeah, you can charge for those things. You can offer consulting, training on your products, or even information related to your industry. If you have a lawyer's office and it has to be closed right now, you can still offer legal advice online. You can even do sign-ups where subscribers, and you have a sign-up and you give them monthly information, or monthly sign-up, a monthly subscription. That's the word I've been looking for. And they'll pay you monthly for your expertise and knowledge. That can bring in money too. Lots of training is going on out there. Mashable just offered a $34 training for the entire Adobe Creative Suite. I mean, I think that's fantastic. So I don't know who the origin of that was, but they were offering that alongside many other trainings. So you can train people with something relevant to your industry or your products. Professional, as Ken said earlier, professional development opportunities and certifications. And this, you can monetize your website. You can add content to draw people in with the cadence of blogs and information, FAQs and Q&As. And then you can add advertisers and monetize your website. Or you can offer audits that will lead to new business in the future. It's a great time to build passive income, but that's not the only thing you need to do right now. There are other ways to bring some money in, if depending upon what kind of business you have. Large to small, instructions, anything that the sky is the limit, depending upon your brand and what you see that you can offer your company, offer about your company, relevant to your customers' needs outside of physical product right now.
True. I mean, I think you made a great point about the virtual meetings or seminars. I know we have quite a few people that we deal with personally at CMA from our association side of the world, and someone on this webinar right now that your conferences got canceled. What can you do? Should you just postpone it? Should you go into a virtual setting? So I think that's a great point that you made there, that there is that opportunity to still have those events, especially since, you know, group settings are public enemy number one. As we all know right now, the whole social distancing thing, there is other ways to get around that.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been really across the board, business as usual, working nonstop. We haven't had a break, and a lot of our clients haven't had a break, and it's just changing things. And I think that's what everyone really needs to understand. Things are moving, and they're moving fast still. So.
Oh yeah, very true, very true. All right, so we have another question here. We're about 20 minutes left, so I do apologize if we don't get to your question on the call today. We'll give you the contact information to reach us afterwards, or we'll continue the conversation with you. So the next question we have is, if you're in a public-facing business and the media reaches out to you to comment on the COVID-19 related topic for your industry, how can you go about responding and avoid any backlash or negative information that might come from your business? Ken, you've dealt with crisis communication a lot. Do you have any tips there?
Yeah, so I mean, ironically, crisis communications is a lot like a viral outbreak. Now, there's really 3 steps you need to do on both fronts. One is you need to identify involved parties. 2, you need to contain it. And 3, you need to confront and address it. And that's how you handle both situations. Now, the one key point from a communications perspective involving COVID-19 is that COVID-19 will always begin as an internal communication campaign. If you don't handle it properly, it will become an external communications campaign. So what I'm saying is, you need to make sure, if you're the business owner, the executive of a corporation, organization, you need to get out in front of this. You need to show and demonstrate to your employees as well as your customers that you got their back. Meaning, you know, you're going to make sure everything, to the best of your ability, you're going to keep things and people safe. If you do that, there's a much less chance any of them will go to a media outlet and talk about it. There's a much less chance any of them will respond to a media outlet if one calls them. So what are some things I can do as a business leader that would kind of help me make sure this remains an internal communications campaign? One is, have I relaxed my work from home program? Now, again, at this point, a lot of us have been deemed non-essential, so we don't have a choice. We're all working at home whether you like it or not. However, there are some organizations out there that have been deemed essential. So what do I do about that? Because we got to still keep coming to work. So you should be doing certain things that are a little bit different. For example, if you clean the building once a week, are you cleaning it every day now? Have you stepped that up? If people are showing up physically to work, are you segmenting them? Are you keeping them in one division to the other, one side of the building to the other, one wing of the building to the other, limiting how many times they're in contact with a set number, maybe 6 people or fewer at all times, 6 feet apart, of course. Those are the kinds of things that would make me as an employee feel better about the brand. Those are the things that make me as a customer feel better about the brand. And when that happens, there'll be less chance of it moving from an internal communications matter to an external communications matter involving the media. Now, in any regards, whichever way this goes, this is the time to be a compassionate leader and err on the side of caution. I'll tell you why. We're in a period of time right now where you will be second guessed. Not today. 2 months from now, when we're back in the office, you could be second guessed based on the actions you took today in the last 2 weeks. So keep that in mind. Be compassionate. Err on the side of caution.
I think that's a good point. And then kind of piggybacking off the PR or communication side of the world, social media is also something that's playing a huge factor right now. So the next question is, what's the best strategy for your business to be a part of the conversation through social media channels? Should you be moving forward with what you usually post and your usual strategy, or should you be shifting it a little bit and have all kind of posts and messaging be towards the COVID-19 circumstances? Dan, I know you've kind of been seeing a lot of this.
Yeah, I think a big part is, if you want to be part of the conversation, you can't ignore this. This is there. Everybody's talking about it. It's completely changed your business. It's completely changed the lives of everyone, across the country and around the world. So there's no way that it can be, communications as usual. If it's not business as usual, it's definitely not marketing as usual. So your strategy, or if you have an editorial calendar that you were just going to regularly post your blogs, your videos, and everything else, while you can still keep that, you've got to work in kind of what's what's shareable, what's happening right now. Otherwise, you just look like you're not paying attention and you're just putting things out on autopilot. And that's definitely something that doesn't help anyone feel good about your brand, that you're not addressing what's going on, and you're not including anybody in the conversation. You might need to actually kind of spin some of the topics that you're doing right now, or shift where things are. I mean, I know, some of the stuff that we've done, this technically wasn't supposed to be the webinar that was going on right now. We had something completely different scheduled for right now. So it is really about, how do you grow and adapt in any situation like this? I think the company that adapts the fastest are the ones that come out most successful, because adaptation is just the way that growth happens. It's the way that new business comes about, is being able to grow, adapt, and change the way we do things to what the new norm is going to be. So being able to get on social, get engagement, and talk about what's happening, and then work in what your regular messaging is, has to be what happens now, because otherwise you're going to be missing the boat, not getting out any of your messaging, and not being part of the conversation. So I think it's about growing and adapting to what's happening now, and working your messaging in so that you're helping people.
I absolutely agree. And like you touched on, from our company standpoint, our CMA standpoint, yes, this was not supposed to happen, a month ago. We had a completely different plan, but we were hearing and listening on social media, through client communications, that people had a lot of questions and were unsure of what to do in terms of marketing themselves during this time. We also have shifted our online content strategy. We do regularly put out blogs, but we kind of tailor the messaging to really try to help you guys. So both of these topics, actually, crisis communication, what you should be posting on social media, email marketing, all of that, please feel free to visit our website after this, cmasolutions.com/blogs, and you can learn a little bit more about how you can kind of be handling the online world during this time. We do have a few more questions and a few more minutes, so I'm going to keep rolling here. Email marketing. Okay, so we all have been getting a ton of emails. This question is, how many emails should you be sending to your customers during this time? Should it be more than you usually do, less, about the same? Omer, I think in terms of frequency or trends you might be seeing from a digital world, do you have any thoughts there?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think it depends on how you're currently using email marketing at all. If you market once a month, right now might be a good idea to start reaching out a little bit more. If you're marketing every week, it's great, but just be careful on the tone and service offerings during this time. Some key trends from businesscommunity.com. Listen, 8-step guide to email marketing during this crisis. The first one will be to act quickly. Your audience expects to hear from you. Don't wait to communicate important information. If you're a store and you're closing, you have different times, and now's a good time to reach out to them. Number 2 is to be compassionate and considerate. Take time to think about how the crisis is having a direct impact on your community, customers, and followers. Number 3 is to describe the actions that you're taking to deal with the situation. Your customers and your prospects in the community, they want to know what you're doing to support the health and safety and well-being of their community. Number 4 is try to help businesses that take an action to help those affected by the crisis will connect with their audience on a deeper level. People want to do business with brands they genuinely care. Number 5, don't joke about the situation. You should come across as an insensitive, and you will come across as insensitive and unaware of the impact the crisis has in the world with your direct customer base. Number 6, don't take advantage of the situation. If your product or service is high in demand due to the crisis, don't raise your prices. While this is a smart practice in normal times due to the law of supply and demand, and right now it's a little insensitive and unethical. Number 7 would be to monitor the crisis and adjust communications appropriately. Communicate regularly with your audience throughout the crisis. Don't be afraid to change how you're addressing or handling the crisis, and update your audience with new information. And lastly, number 8, show the audience that you care. Your audience may be stressed, upset, or in danger during this crisis. Make sure they know you care about their well-being, their health, their family, and their friends.
Awesome. And then Ken, I think from those few points, you might have some extra tips from the messaging standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the person's question about should they keep to their normal email routine and stuff, it really comes down to the content in the emails. And I'll give you an example. Every day at CMA, Kelsey does a really good job of sending us an inspirational email. And I'm thinking, why doesn't she send me a second one after lunch when I'm ready to fall asleep? I could use that boost too, you know what I mean? So I love it in the morning, but I could use another one after lunch. But in any case, I'm actually looking for more emails. You get it? Not less. So if you have something that's inspirational, say it. That I like that. Something that's aspirational, say it. I want more of that, those kind of emails. Something that makes me feel good, tell me. I love it. But if you're asking me, should we send out the same old emails like we always do? Probably not. That's probably a good example where less is more. But again, the key takeaway here is at the end of the day, I think you should be doing more communications with your customers and prospects, not less. So I think you should be sending the same amount of emails, maybe more, but I think you should change it up in terms of the content. Give them something they can look forward to.
Yeah, I appreciate the shout out for the little inspirational quotes. I actually played a little trick on everyone today and sent out a little April Fool's email instead. So just another way to keep touch point with all of your customers, clients, colleagues. Yes, communication is key, whether it's through email, social media, digital, etc. during this time. Okay, we do have one right here that I think would be a good one to throw out to the group, kind of along those lines, but do we have any ideas or suggestions, not including Zoom video meetings, that we could use to allow employees to do things together virtually, whether it's team building, fun, collaborative, oh my gosh, can't say that, but not necessarily work related. Again, I think we just kind of touched on the little fun emails I've been sending out to the entire group the whole time, but does anyone else have any other thoughts that we've kind of been doing for clients to help them work through their employee situation?
Well, we haven't done it yet, but we've talked about it. So we're going to start this week. And it's just for our team to come together and, one of the girls goes to the gym in the morning, the other one wakes up late, and, we all want to get organized and on the same page. So instead of just a morning, everyone get on the same page meeting, we were talking about, hey, do we want to do 15 minutes of yoga virtually? Or do we want to do a little like meditation virtually? Or do we want to do like some breathing exercises or something like that, just to take the stress of the day away? And it can be included with any other tasks like that, but just to include something fun for everyone other than just work that will bring everyone together. I mean, we've really seen internally also, you can have a fantastic creative meeting on Google Hangouts, right? Or any other Microsoft Teams or any of even Zoom. And it's no different than being in the room together, because once the ideas start flying. So brainstorm sessions, I mean, ask people, I mean, I guess this is beyond, still a little related to work, but just bringing that level of creativity in seems to get everyone happier, everyone on the same page, and everyone working more closely together.
And Christian, I want to share what we kind of do from a company standpoint to kick off every single week.
Yeah, every week. We usually, on Monday mornings, we have a Zoom meeting. It's really great just to be able to see everybody's face and, see how they're doing. And we kind of go through a bunch of different things. I try and start off the question with, like, how's everybody doing? What's going on? And it's fun to see people kind of in their own little home environment and the things that transpire. Like I said, there's cats that are walking across, there's dogs that are barking. There's a lot of fun stuff like that, but it really just kind of gets us going as an organization outside of the work world. It says, hey, we're all here. We're all still one company. It's a lot of fun. Like, we go through the waving or the virtual high fives, those types of little things that are habitual. And we kind of go through on a Monday morning for everyone, just see, is there anything that's bothering you? We can talk as a group, whatever it is. This week we touched points on, again, people, how they're handling their kids and how, ensuring it's interesting, because if you don't have children or anything like that, you're not really aware of the actual pull that's happening right now by being home at the same time. So that's always an interesting comment for us. I mean, Kels, I know from you and I get up in the morning and I get on Google Hangouts, and Kelsey and I usually greet ourselves in the morning with the fist pump when we're in the office, and I found the emoji there. I could, all right, good morning, Kels, let's get our good day going, kind of thing, and it just gives that sense of normalcy and a sense of fun and levity to it.
Yep, I completely agree. All right, so I know we didn't get through all the questions. There's a lot more submitted, so I do apologize about that, but I want to be cognizant about everyone's time. We are at the end of the hour here, but I'm going to kind of kick it over to Christian once more to finish us off and learn about how you guys can contact us moving forward, or some future conversations that we're excited to have with you all.
Well, I want to say first, thanks for everyone for joining us. I'm hoping that you got some value out of this. The people that are here, some of the things from the takeaway side of it, be a support structure for your clients now. And that's the main point. Build those relationships, reach out, touch base with folks. Not so much from a sales environment, but let them know that you're there, you're thinking about them. I do a lot of that with some of our clients at touch points and some of our prospects. It's just, hey, we're here, just thinking about you type of environment. Again, I appreciate the team for taking the time out of your day and helping us and getting on this webinar. Kelsey, fantastic job today moderating. If you need to reach us, if we didn't get to your questions, I'm sure there's a plethora that are still out there. You can reach us at info@cmasolutions.com, and we'll all be able to email you back and answer your questions as is. But just going forward, just in this time of need, everybody's running around. There's a lot of hectic. There's a lot of things you can put on the back burner. Stick true to your plan. Stick true to your goals, your marketing messaging, and know who you can lean on. find your friends and be supportive. So I thank you all. I hope everyone's safe and healthy, and we all see each other physically real soon.
All right, so thank you all for joining us today, and kind of keep up with us on social media, on email, for future conversations that we're going to continue to have throughout the coming weeks. So hopefully you all found this helpful, and we'll be in touch soon. Bye.
Bye all.